Uh, all right, welcome, welcome, everyone to Dynasty the Podcast Show. I am your host, Ira Bush. Today's Saturday, June 28th. On a Saturday, we out here in Florida, so the sun is very sunny out today. Nice sunshine, beautiful day. Good for the beach, good for the summer people visiting. Next weekend is 4th of July weekend. It's actually, it should be very busy down this way due to the fact that we're having it on a Friday, and you know how I go the days. It's like every day it moves up. So the next few years we're gonna be busy out here in Florida for the 4th of July weekend. But yesterday we had a good show. I invited my nephew on. We had a little chat. He did a little mini interview for him. It was a little bit off what we usually talk about, but today we're gonna get right back into business and speaking about some high level adult things as far as what's going on politically. Do a review of like the draft. I'm not gonna do every team. I'm just gonna do teams that I actually enjoy watching. I was thinking about doing it like NBA is the way college is, the way that they draft. They got a lot of people from overseas. I don't feel like getting into the let's just put it like this. When it comes to NBA, it's very international, and it's a lot of politics when they go. The politics of NBA is not the same as NFL. So it's getting international with the league doing the games overseas, but it's not the same. So I'm just gonna keep it more of a fan, more of an analyst from far, like stuff that I catch my eye, stuff that put some good information out there every now and again for the NBA. I'm not gonna try to go all out. Even in the NFL, I'm trying my best to withstand from speaking too much. Like I know what's actually going on inside the buildings because I know how it does. Information gets out there, and then it might be a lone reporter that takes something that's me and just talking, and then spread it all around the world. I respect players. I respect the leagues, the players in the leagues, because I actually do know how all this stuff was formed. Like we talk about all the time. That's why we talk a lot of politics on here, and we review and analyze sports. That's stuff that I enjoy. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We're gonna talk about a little bit of the draft. We're probably gonna talk about the draft for the next few shows. Try to keep it mixed up. Talk about how much the teams are gonna change. The key free agents still out there, the veterans that could change, what fit where, and all this and that. So it's gonna be good to talk about, just to chop it up. My favorite. We definitely talking about the Lakers today. That's my favorite NBA team. We're gonna talk. We talked about the Magic already with the trade they had. I might mention who they draft, see if it's a good fit for that team. Probably the 76ers. Who else we would speak on? I might check it to the Kings, see how they looking over there. The OKC actually have a lot going on, and they just won the championship, so we might speak on them as well. Sun, they got a lot going on right now. San Antonio as well. So we talked about both of those teams already. They drafted pretty good. They got people moving on, superstars moving on from them teams. New age in San Antonio. I watched a couple WNBA games. We're gonna talk about that. Like I said, try to support the women as much. They, go vote for their the All Stars. Try to watch at least the highlights of them if you haven't watched no games, and you can make your decision like that as well. So just get caught up. Try to catch some of their games. Yesterday, every Friday they have games on Ion, so I watched a couple games. I ended up falling asleep, so I didn't watch the late game, the end of the late game, but I did watch the Atlanta Dream game. It was very entertaining. They went to overtime, so we're gonna talk about all that stuff. Now, going right into it, just to break it down, I talk politics and community on all the time in the beginning of my show. Now, the last few days, like I said, I spent time with my family all the time. Like I'm glad they over, where I'm at, this week. But For me, community, today it actually is a sign up at the league that I'm gonna be coaching Little League at. So y'all need to go if y'all in the Palm Beach area, go sign up at Lake Ida. I don't know if I had that 10. I didn't get an email or receive an email from that, but I'm not really tripping about that at all. Then I got basketball 2 days out the week, one practice day, one game day. Monday we got game day. So, I always speak about this thing. I'm hyped about that. Now, with football coming up, I never, the biggest, my suggestion for football, Little League football, is to get your agility and your conditioning now. Start conditioning now. A good place to go to is the beach. Get you some ladders, get you some cones. It's very cheap now to get you some cones. You go to Five Below, you can go to Walmart, you go over there, get you some cones for $1, a few dollars. Extra parents. You need to get a group of friends, ride your bikes to the beach, get you some running on the beach. One of my, somebody I played sports with, I was treated. I was still kind of young, and a few years of me coaching, and I had just started training people on, my players on the beach, and I made him wear his cleats on the sand, and then he was like, "Nah, you don't wear your cleats. It's not good for your joints and your ankles and stuff like that." So I didn't know that was just a teaching point for me, because I was like, we could go on the grass or the beach. That's why I told him to bring his cleats. So no, don't wear your cleats on the sand. It's good to have no shoes. It's good for your joints, good for your breaking down, like, when you can run your routes and stuff, and you can do your agility drills for your position in the sand. So it's good. Just no shoes, no cleats. You can wear your socks if you feel, you might start slipping and sliding, but try to keep it as natural and get your training up. I suggest y'all go out there on the beach. It's a good day to go. Even if it rains, you can just hop in the water after the birds, and it's the sun. It's the time of year where it rains and sunshine all throughout the day, back and forth. So just go out there and get you some conditioning. You go today, tomorrow. We used to do this all the time during the summer, especially once I got to high school. Definitely in this area in South Florida, the kids used to go to the beach every Saturday and Sunday. So you go out there and get you some work. And I'm from both, and I'm good on both coasts. So you over there on the Gulf, or you over here on the Atlantic side, Florida, get you some good workouts in and go on the beach. And I coach both areas, so this is a suggestion for me. Start getting your work in. Go get you some young guys. Try to get back in. Tote your little brothers out there to the beach. If you're in high school, start them young, teach them some stuff. It don't even got to be hard work. Once you start doing that agility stuff out there, you be tired and winded. 15 minutes, get you a parachute or something if you can afford it. Start running. Get your form down pat. Moving your head, getting your elbows tight, hands free. Your breathing techniques, all that stuff is key before you even start putting the shoulder pads and helmet on. So that's just a suggestion as far as community, man. Get you some light. If you get to your game and try to set your little gaming up, I ain't saying everybody an athlete. Help other ways. Now, we're gonna move on, and just like make sure family is important. Giving back is important. During the summer you have time. You can get your studies up, go to the library. The facility, the where I'm at right now is one in West Palm. They have a studio as well, and this is the area I'm at. They have a studio, so I use these areas. If it's available, go out there and do something structured. I know in Delray they used to have a studio over there as well at the teen center. I don't know if they still have it, but just use your time wisely. If you know somebody, just get out there and be active. Now, that's pretty much it for community. Now, today for politics, I've been speaking on the governor and the and the senator. I still ain't seen that from our senator, but I think our governor of Florida has stepped up a little bit. I ain't saying he did it. He got to still go. You know how they do it. They want to make a splash and then they get missing. They don't stay on point. they don't get into the details of things and properly make sure everything's executed. That'd be the main reason. Now, if he comes out, he stated yesterday, 2 days, it might have been 2 days ago, because I did a show and then it happened the day before. So um he just was talking about the education, and I think some of immigration is two clips that I'm gonna listen to from him, Ron DeSantis, and I'm in Florida. So if it sounded like the title and a little bit that I listened to, it sounded like he was talking correctly. He sounded like he was getting to real business and the stuff that Florida needed to get situated, so everything that he won't get situated. So he need to do the correct things for the people, because everybody here, and then it was a big fit now bus out there in Polk County, which I have tons of family that I don't know in those areas, and I might know a little bit, but that's a ton of people that I know, that I'm grounded to, as far as me being a native. If you read that book, that 100-Year War of Florida, where the natives were fighting with the people that run this country still to make that agreement in the 1700s through the 1800s, and it started in the 1600s and the 1500s when we were helping the sheriff and they developed these towns, and they didn't do what they said without written. They was stealing land, they was taking over, they was poisoning. The Thanksgiving is from based off a lot of stuff that happened in the Midwest and in Florida and in the South, when they was killing off natives and they was raping these people, trying to instill adherence and take control of their females. And it's pretty much known knowledge. It don't get spoken on a lot, but like I said, I come from, basically, I might have one, you know generation of people raping a family member and being in, but my DNA speaks 100% Black African descent and Native. I was actually lucky to have that type of DNA, and that's all it is. I speak on this stuff because it's important. We all mix, but I'm speaking from known facts and what they told me. So I gotta speak for the people like me. Gotta be more, understanding and come together to not lead us down the wrong path of, I ain't gonna say it. I already spoken on. Y'all know who's trying to be in control still, that don't have a clue. It's gonna be like I said, he speak correctly about correcting this education system and this immigration and all this stuff. They trying to stronghold and not work with the people and not do the correct steps of understanding the people, and still trying to be in control and power. We're gonna listen to what he say. I definitely ain't listened to it yet. I'm listening to it when y'all listening to it. So I'm still gonna critique what he said, and he still gotta still know what it is. So we're gonna go to right into the first, his first little spew, 4 minutes. Okay, now he called it at the end. He called it a educational cartel. So y'all look up what cartel stands for, or what most people might think of it as, and he's basically saying those people that in that group are the third party that was given the most. I don't really know. This is what he says, and he said it was mostly in the Biden area. But you got to remember who was the president before. The same president we have is just was overlooked because you guys remember who he put in charge. They're no longer there, and it's just like the blame game got to stop. He said it's a trial run. So basically, they're going to start educating us like we did when I was coming up, which was pretty much you got to wait and see. Is either you pick the right path of education or you pick the streets. You pick the old school way of working off the land and hustling and starting business. You're an entrepreneur. So you can either be educated or you can be an entrepreneur. Now, that's what we was growing up. That's what we were taught growing up. Now, when it came in, they went to doing control minds, whatever kind of magical tactics and whatever tactic they did with these people investing money in, it was all to control the mind and to control, have this one saint, being a dictatorship type of energy, and the education system went from testing on, teaching all kind of, it was, everything but what my generation grew up on. The stuff that was put in the books was from the people that was giving the money to these people, and they wasn't paying attention. They just knew it was a dollar sign attached to it that they couldn't resist at the time. So now that it's going back into having a little bit of organization, workshops, knowing how to be a skilled person in the world, because they tried to corner the market on who was supposed to be skilled, who was supposed to be this. They looked at, the European and certain, European Spanish people went into a group to this dysfunction, the people who have African descent who they call blacks or N-words. In America, they tried to make us look slow or not, but we still, end up accomplishing what because college still has a choice. You can pick what you want to study. So people still was in the college ranks, graduating at a high clip, at a decent clip, and we teach our kids, get to that. You get to that graduation part. It's your choice. Most black homes. So it's definitely important to graduate or get your what is it called? Just get your past that K through 12, and then you can make a choice from there. It's important because you still live in your parents' house. Most parents have to work a 9 to 5, so you have to be, some kind of, you need to have some kind of guidance during that time. You can't just be at home passing time, unless you actually got the funds, unless you got a real structured, you got a real plan at a young age or whatever you're trying to be successful at. I ain't saying you can't do it. But yeah, I'm going to stop. My phone is going dead. I didn't realize my phone wasn't charged. So the people on this live on my Instagram, I'm gonna stop. I just want to say thank y'all for listening. We still gonna continue on YouTube, but thank y'all for listening. Last time they get it saved, and I messed up a show that was supposed to be posted on Instagram. But thank y'all for listening, tuning in. I appreciate y'all. This is Dynasty the Podcast Show. I'm your host, Ira Bush. We're gonna be back Monday. Sorry I didn't get to the sports. We got a little bit of politics, community in, so that's worth something. But thank y'all. And like I said, this is my opinion on what he's talking about this with this education. So y'all got something out of it today from this if you watch it from this channel right here, this wavelength. So I'll see y'all tomorrow. I mean Monday. All right. All right, we still on YouTube. We're gonna continue. We're gonna continue to talk about. That was his spiel on the education. I don't. He kind of spent. Went in a circle again, saying that it's gonna be a trial run, saying that blaming this person and that person. So whatever they got, they calling the announcement of the Commission of Public Higher Education. So they got a new little system of, he's coming up. The thing about him is he's trying to get other people involved. The thing he need to do in Florida is to make sure this is actually a soundproof thing that he's going into. Don't have that maybe type of energy. I don't know why he's still our governor. You know what I'm trying to say? He doesn't have a winning spirit to me. He has a very follow this person, follow that person spirit. You're not going to be a president if you have that spirit. I don't want you in office. I don't want you there. I will never vote you as governor. And I'm not dissing you. You're still there, so I'm going to have to support you because I have kids in education. But the energy is, what if somebody said, you're next in line to be the president, sir? You have the chance to run this Florida like the president. You have the chance to change and make sure everybody here is winning. We're in competition with other 49 states, not in a negative competition, just in competition of success, just in competition of having everybody here with abilities and having the strength of a state. I know we're not weak. We have very strong people in this state, but you have to understand that intellectual is very important to be successful, and you don't give that off to me. So that's all I can say. Hopefully you grow some, and you actually, the fact that you're you're at a seat of intellectual, sir. You're at the highest level of intellectual. So stop having this maybe and I don't know and this person said this. I don't care. I'm gonna put a gossip boy shirt on you. You come up there talking like that, I'm gonna take the suit off and we're gonna just green screen gossip boy shirt on you. Cause I don't want to hear what everybody else got to say. I want to hear what you got to say. I want to hear you standing on what you said. I don't want no maybes no more. Don't come up here with no maybes. Now we're gonna listen to the other one. We're not gonna listen to the whole 8 minutes. But he was talking about, the immigration. I know people think immigration is very important, so we're gonna listen to what he said, and go from there. This is in the same press conferences, by the way. In Florida, there's so many different international beings here. They're from different countries, different states, different places. I don't know. We're one of the leading states in that, and sir, we're on the water. We have so many different nationalities on the water that you can't talk. You supposed to be in the lead of this. You supposed to be diverse. So let me listen to what he said. Okay, so he's talking about the detention facilities, and y'all see how he likes to talk about this. We use it for storms, and we use it. We need stealing money. We're 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 stealing money. That's all I hear. We're stealing money. I don't want to hear him talk no more. I don't want to find a new governor. That's it for him. My last. I don't want to hear him talk no more. Find a new governor. Okay, next. Moving on. Um, okay, the protests were practiced. Americans were prepared to screen for Supreme Court obstacles to opposing. This is a reporter on MSNBC. She's giving a whole view of the world from all 50 states, and she's just talking about the unpopular policies and all the unlawful executive orders, stuff we've been communicating and talking about. Those are the words that this is Jen Paskey. This is all the stuff that's going on. It's a 9 minute clip, so I might play the whole thing. I might, once she give her first 4 or 5 minutes, we're gonna just discuss it. If the whole 9 minutes needs to be spoken on, they usually have somebody come in and speak, which is at the first, which is something I'm going to be doing. So instead of them doing it, I'm going to be breaking it down what she spoke on. So that's all. And I tell y'all, my debate skills is very high level. I just have not been using them. So in a public manner. My oldest cousin, this is before I even got to high school. We used to play a game. So, you know, I know he realized now the older we are, because he's more of like just a doer. He not really with all the chit chat still, but the older you get, you have to have that kind of skill. So me and him, I used to go at him with him, just talking sports, just talking, and I know he wasn't, I was a little bit just sharpening my skills when it comes to that. And we had friends that come over and play as well, and I used to just go back and forth with him, but I know it helps him now because he has understanding, because he has children. He's a couple years older than me, and I know it's more appreciated because he used to get mad because I used to be, I don't like, I know, but it's like I gotta do kind of like. So we had different ways, but at a bigger scale, the fact that we have children, we have to communicate. You have to be able to speak up and rebuttal certain things. So I know he appreciate it now more. And and I'm, like I said, I'm talking about it at the highest level. So we're gonna listen to what she got to say, and then I'm gonna give y'all my spew and spin on it and my opinion on it. So let's see. All right, I'm not gonna go too. I don't want to sound like I'm dissing. Today is Saturday. I ain't gonna mess my day up. But this is basically what we've been discussing since I've been doing these shows. And I know people probably thought, "Oh, he's gonna be." Nah, I'm going there. I'm going in. I gotta go in. Like I say, I talk about my child all the time. I talk about my niece. Y'all see, I bring. They know what it is. I've been like this since they've been born. I don't play by none of them, and I'm doing this because of them. So I have to go. I have to go do it too. I'm not. I'm not the one to even be played with on this level because I haven't even. I know I could be in the political world. I don't really like the education system. I might have to wait it out a little bit longer. I told y'all when they try to put me to sleep every time since I've been 15 years old. They try to put me to sleep in school, so I ain't making it up. And they need my intellectual property, which is what today's show is. And people who have the gift to be intellectuals, I suggest you don't waste your brain on small things. Start as early as possible. I think definitely people, now the time to be in the debate teams, the chess clubs, write stuff down, write your poems, write your poetry, study science, geometry, logistics, chemistry, all that stuff, put all that stuff to use, study the worlds, other stuff that's available out there. Don't subjugate yourself to, to the people that we just was talking, that she was just describing as having this one set mind, control minds, control what you do, having this making a debt note, be the controller, which is what it says on the dollar and all the money that we have in this country. It says debt note, which means somebody owes somebody. And that's all it is. Just don't have that mindset. Be creative, be a creator, be strong, definitely with your mental. And that's all it is. We're gonna move on. I like what she was saying. I don't, I'm gonna try to catch some. They have the people like her come on at the end of the week. During the weekends. They don't have. They have to earn or keep to be on there years and years to even get that slot in the morning. You got to tap dance a lot just to get that morning spot when you going so big. It ain't their fault. It's just how the networks work. You still have to earn money for these people. So, they put a lot of real stuff on at the end of the week. Well, I'm coming strong on the weekend still. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think, I'm gonna let I got a Representative Al Green, that he said some couple of days ago. He spoke on the just the unsupportiveness of everybody back and forth with that community. I'm not going to give that too much energy. I spoke on that last weekend or early this week. And that's, yeah. And I don't think it's just how it's going to go. It's just him talking basically about the same thing, what she's speaking on. We're going to stay on topic. But he spoke on it a couple of days ago. Just like the unpopularity of our person that's in command right now over our government, and the unsatisfaction of the people for the majority. And we're gonna listen to what he said. And these people she's in the high level media, this MSNBC, and he's a representative of the Democratic. I think he might. Texas is basically a red state, so anything Democrat or Republican is red. So it's still Republican side, of mindset mostly. I won't say side, just the old school way, having your own opinion. Most of those people in Texas have their own set of goals, and they gotta to be in a high level of, usually, except unless you're Bernie Sanders and the independent, you got a billions of dollars, backings. You got to pick a side so you can stay in your position, and you got to talk to the people correctly so you can stay in your position, or whichever side you pick. And the Democrat side is definitely bigger, but it's a lot of distaste. When they do all the voting, it's in the big voting, meaning the presidential. The electoral for school. Electorals matter, so it doesn't matter how many people they got. The electoral votes to control the masses, and that's a big thing. It's basically how the country was built. They talk about it. The more education you get, the more you know how this country was built. And I could do a whole show about the how the electorals, I got to do a little bit of research, but we learned a little bit. They don't still don't teach it in high school. You got to pick the class to even learn in college, and you get one class where they talk about it, but it is still not highly discussed on the electorals and how it was formulated. And it's a lot of lies in our education system about how the country was built, and a mistruth or misinformation of it. So let's not get off topic, but we're gonna let him speak. Representative Al Green talks about the Trump actions and mm. Okay, this is the issue that everybody's saying. It's the pettiness. It's the weak mindset of a person to get mad about not agreeing with you. You're voted in as president and knowing you have a competition, knowing there's checks and balances to not make sure there's no that both sides are not heard. Once you get the presidential seat, that does not make you the last ruler. You have a lot of control. You have a lot of the biggest voice, but you also want the house, but you have to go by the rules. The judges are not agreeing with what you say. Like these people are literally neutral at best. They already get paid a certain amount. They don't get fired. It's hard for a judge to get fired. You're suing the people that make the final decision. Like this is not making sense. You're basically bringing people from, and then you're not even your standings in the UN, which is basically where you got to go to even absurd to unseat the judges. The UN do not like this man at all. So who you finna go to another state and sue a state? The judges are going to be you trying to call. This is what I mean by causing war and internal strife. This man does this on every level: the UN level, the state level. It's not healthy. It's very dysfunctioning. It has no good taste. It doesn't have morals or a taste of class or nothing. That smells of hate. It smells of him being defeated. Like no one's going to be behind somebody that's sore loser that doesn't understand that you come at it a different way. Find another way to get what you need or what you want. Don't come in here dysfunction just because. Come in with the mindset to make everybody win in all 50 states. If you have a bunch of a mind, pea brain of solution, you can't be the president. You need to stop being the president. Go find a new job, find a new thing to do. That's not what we need at this time. You know what I'm saying? And then he trying to tote around a jet for the army, and they barely like you, but they have to do their job. You know what I'm saying? So you try to cause, some kind of ice, and you know how that go. Most of those ice people are from military, so the military that's in that, he's trying to control that, but that looks backwards because we still got sheriff and police officers in the states. That it's like, what is this guy doing? That's an internal strife in itself, and it's so backwards what he's doing with power. It's not adding up. So I'm gonna let him continue, but that's just how I feel. I had to, break it down from these two. That's half of what he's saying, and we're gonna let him continue what he was saying. Mm. I got a word. What that word was? I gotta use that word. That's gonna be my next. I'm biting that one. What? This man be going in. Way I'm so late to the party too. I'm writing it down. I gotta look that up. Woo, pusillanimous, showing lack of courage and determination. That's what it means. I love it. That was a bar. We're gonna go find the opposite of that word and put it Mm, mm, mhm. All right. I don't know about y'all. I feel like people who have, who represent the people, who have a voice for the people, who could speak up and do their job. I don't care how they feel. I definitely know this man is seasoned because, when you're young, you can still be green to, subjugate to fraud and to false people coming in trying to help and say they help and then they take. That's why people don't get to the level of presidential, and then you got frauds as presidents, and you might not. I don't think he sold out just to get his spot. He had to earn his spot. So I appreciate people like this. He definitely gonna get a lot of his sound bites from me. I agree. Just it ain't even. I can't even agree with everything he's probably going to say or he's done because I'm still young. It's just that fact that people speak their truth, speak from their view. It's not a. I respect people cold. I respect people that can do that. I really do respect that because, like I said, it's so much going on. Y'all see how backwards talking our senator and governor. I'll say our governor talks, and then this person directly speaks clear format. Boom, 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 boom. Point after point after point. This is what I want to hear people speaking on. Not no old roundabout. We might be, maybe trial run, maybe so. I don't want to hear that at all. So I'm glad somebody's speaking with or is it gall with authority. So I'm gonna like I said, that's my opinion on it. I got one more. I know I'm probably a little. I know y'all want to hear a little bit about sports, so I don't want to bore everybody to death with politics, but it's important. Being an adult, having you have to be educated on what's going on. So we're gonna move on. This is gonna be the last thing. They did something with they signed, the president signed something with Africa yesterday. They had a meeting. I know people do stuff for stunts. They had that meeting with South Africa, and then nobody's been talking about it the last 2 weeks. And people came in there wanting to really have real a real agenda, and I don't think they probably even looked at that agenda since they had that meeting. So South Africa, everybody's not against y'all. I know y'all have real internal war going on, real dysfunction in y'all own from your own standpoint. Hopefully y'all getting the right kind of help. If they not talking about it, hopefully somebody from America is helping y'all because y'all came over here and y'all actually left y'all throne to even come and communicate with the person that's over that is our public figure for all 50 states. I'm gonna start calling them like that because you got to actually be leading to be a commander. Now, don't let that go over your head. Now I don't be wanting this, man. I really, y'all don't even know the type of elementaries I went to. I really learned a lot, and I had some strong, powerful teachers. I had a strong mother and grandmother that taught me before that. So I don't really come from no old. And like I said, y'all could do the check. I know it's a lot of people that try to be me. And I ain't being funny by saying it like that. My grandfathers are strong people as well. My father was too. And it is what it is. You go have to deal with me because I'm a full grown adult. I can't. It's time for me to step up as a parent, as a relative, as a all the I can't miss my spot in the world because somebody I can't be petty no more. Ain't no more pettiness coming over here. So we're gonna talk about I ain't gonna listen to the whole thing. I actually might want to save this one. This doesn't have too much to do, but I'm gonna just give y'all a little quick, summary what they gave me from the news channel, Channel 8. This is actually from my, Channel 8 is located from, It's still the Tampa Bay area, but this happened in Polk County. Sheriff announced that it was a large fentanyl seize, the largest fentanyl seize. It was like 65 pounds of fentanyl, enough to kill 14 million people. This is what they wrote in that little summary on YouTube. So now, with that being said, I spoke about, people messing up marijuana. There was a big thing going on with this fentanyl, putting stuff in marijuana and, trying to, basically there was people who have involvement of opioids, pills, and cocaine, at a high level. And, I can't talk too much about trafficking that through the schools because, I don't know how America keeps afloat of out of country money or being located, but I'm pretty sure that, from my observation, it could possibly have it to do with, young people. Now, going on with this is actually another way. The fentanyl is a way to kill, the way to kill our plant. They was putting fentanyl in it. And, like I said, when I was studying marijuana in elementary and there, they told me in the books that marijuana never killed nobody ever. And this was me at 9, 8 years old. They started spraying it, putting fentanyl on it, doing all kind of cockamamie stuff to the plant. And I know what it really was supposed to be meant for. It's definitely a healer for females. Females have children. Females have migraines, periods, all kind of stuff. It's a lot of spiritual stuff going on with that plant. You could cook with it. All kind of stuff going on with them. Males, playing sports, it helps you heal your joints. If you have a brain trauma, it helps you with the healing of it. And eyes, with all that. It was used as a medicine more than, it's used for a medicine. People use it for, a lot of states allow it to be used in a recreational way. It's not deemed, it's way better than we sell cigarettes still, and that causes cancer. Tobacco is definitely manipulated to be more dangerous besides the regular grown tobacco. But it should be treated as all 50 states should definitely. It's too much going on with people trying to, urban people of African and Native descent trying to get killed off in these types of manners. So, I'm just gonna speak honestly about it, what it was designed at the highest level, and hopefully they stop. Some people out here trying to figure it out. It don't matter the color, because I know it's other people who do use marijuana. But the fentanyl was definitely getting sprinkled on marijuana because people were mad. They're mad at the independence of these black and brown people, and I'm just gonna speak honestly about it. So I'm gonna listen to it. I'm gonna let y'all listen to that probably Monday, and then I'm just gonna move on for politics today. We're gonna talk a little sports now. First things first, the WNBA games I watched, it was a very good game. I actually, let me just pull it up real quick. I want to talk highly about these girls, and I don't want to mess up and pull up the little stat sheets and stuff. I did watch, but I'm gonna refresh my mind. Okay, yesterday I watched the let's see. They want people to vote. Make sure you go vote for sure. I always forget to say, make sure you go vote. Make sure y'all vote for the WNBA. The more votes for them, the better. It helps their league. Participating is something that they want. And I think they have good numbers. I see the games. They have good stands, and fans come out and support. They definitely got stars in the league, so it was good. Yesterday I watched Atlanta and Minnesota. I was like, "Ooh, the second team." That's bad that I forget that easy. But that was a great game. It was an overtime game. The stat lines for that, I'm gonna just read it out real quick. Brittany Griner had a really good game. They ended up going to, she's definitely should. I don't know if they're going to let her be a Hall of Famer. She got in trouble. You know how that go. They count all that stuff against you. She probably eventually get there. She's a star in college. She's a star in the WNBA. She's won championships. Um, her coach is now the coach over there at LSU. She was very high level. You know, she's been around some great people. Yesterday she had 16-7. I'm glad she's getting back into the flow of it. That was a pretty even stat line for that team. Everybody contributed. Unfortunately, they came up short. The leading scorer yesterday was Brianna Jones. She had 18, 8 rebounds. She contributed. And Alicia Gray had 17 and 8 rebounds. And she threw in a couple assists, 4 assists. They had a nice game, but unfortunately, Minnesota was able to pull it out. Napheesa Collier, reigning MVP. I think she won MVP last year. She had 26 points, 6 assists, 7 rebounds. Another, superstar caliber game. The second lead scorer on that yesterday was Kayla McBride. She was, great at the free throw, the clutch situations. When the game was close, she hit her free throws. She had 3 assists, 3 rebounds. Everybody contributed. It was a high scoring game. I watched that game, so I enjoyed it. Just shout out to those women. Y'all keep going hard, keep putting out a good product. I know be people out there dissing y'all on those. That be people that don't like the fact that y'all have gotten to this level as athletes and putting that league on the map like y'all have. So shout out to those women. The other game that the game I wanted to watch was the Chicago game. That was a close game. I'm just gonna read the stat line. Angel Reese had a very, she had a great game yesterday. Unfortunately their team didn't win. That's a young player that I'm happy she's still, she's actually developed better as a leader this year. She was very honest in the beginning of the year when it, was trying to blame her for the losses. She spoke up. She didn't shy away from that. So she's still pretty young. Yesterday she had the plus and minus wasn't good. She was minus 14, but she had said that comes when she misses a lot of shots at the basket. So I understand she still get a lot of rebounds off that. So she got 17 points, 18 rebounds. I'm not no sucker, so I'm not gonna be like, oh, she did everything perfect. No, they still lost. But she had 17, 18 rebounds. And she had a pretty solid game. I think I want to say she's not playing because she's playing in, I seen she was going to the Brazil team, and I think that's what happened. She's already playing overseas. I think it's really big. Brazil is a very huge country, so somebody like that has a lot of rank and a lot of power in the world. And her people want her to play for them, and I understand that type of. It's not the same. We're already in the United States of America. She had to do a lot for her country that people not even understanding. So, Camila Cardozo, I think she's already with her team in Brazil preparing for a big tournament or big league type of deal with that she probably has in her contract. So, like I said, the Golden State Valkyrie ended up winning. The leading scorer, Kayla Thornton, she had 29 points, 6 rebounds. She had a great game. She put the team. She put up a lot of points. Her plus minus was 5, so she did her job. I think that's what the winning was by. So yeah, it was a 5-point win. So that was a big difference. It was her scoring and her rebounds and everything counted for her yesterday. So I can't speak on everybody. The second lead scorer was Tiffany Hayes. She had 13, 5 rebounds. So I didn't watch the game. I'm just giving you the stat line. It was a big game. This is 2 young teams. Golden State is still in the playoffs. They're still in the they still have their position in the playoffs. They won. The game I did get to watch that I fell asleep on was the Seattle game. Seattle won. I don't know, 97-81. They played Connecticut. And like I said, Seattle definitely well versed. Skylar Diggins had a big first half. She didn't miss any shots. I think she didn't miss her first shot until the end of the second quarter. She 24 points. She's been averaging 20 and 5 for the last 4 or 5 games. I think they had that stat up. In Nneka Ngumake, she had 16 and 4 rebounds. Gabby Wills had 16.7 assists. They had, those are veterans on their team. I think Gabby's the youngest out of all of them. So, it's good to have a player like that in the wings in her prime. That's definitely probably learning from Skylar and Nneka and Google K. That leadership. And the younger Ezzie McGager, I think I said McGager Gore. She had 12 points, 5 rebounds. That's good for her. She's a rookie. I like the development of Seattle. Their coach is really good. I like that whole little nuance they have. So, that organization has been a winning organization since it formed in the league. So, shout out to Seattle Storm. Connecticut Sun, Tina Charles is on that team. She's not as young youthful as she was, but unfortunately they did not have a big game. The person who was leading on that, the rookie Anisha Monroe, I like the way her energy every time I see her play. She's high level, 20 points, 11 rebounds. That team's very young. It probably need to get some some veteran help and some youth on that team. By next year they should improve. I love that. I think she was picked. She played on LSU. It was stars from the last three. The time she was on there, she probably was overlooked, and I'm glad she found a team that she could develop into a leader and eventually be a star. And I like the way she played with LSU last year. They didn't have the size, and I think they made it to the final, definitely the Final Four. Which color went back. She's coming out next year, and she's on the USA team doing her thing as well. And they had a nice backcourt. She played the three, and she did a lot of scoring for LSU last year. So shout out to her. Glad her not being a starter. And when she get in, her plus and minus was -1, so that's positive. And she probably be in the realm of starter, especially towards the end of the year. I think she's getting better at being confident and being the ability to make shots. So I see that every time I see, per game she's improved down since the season started. The second leading scorer was Bria Hartley. She had 19, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. So, seeing that, it's a positive. Her plus minus was not that great. She had -15. So, they just probably need a little bit more help. It's probably a year or two away for them. And yeah. So that was the game I watched and went to sleep on. I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but I checked it out. I did watch a lot of it. So shout out to those ladies, and we're gonna move on. Now the NBA, like I said, I'm gonna speak on my Lakers first. Let me just look at like I said, when it comes down to just, let's put it like this. Summer league, we're gonna see who we got as far as the young guys with the two-way. They signed Andrew Reese's brother. I'm sorry, I don't know his name, but your sister got a lot of clout. We drafted a nice 3 or 4. We played a 3 or 4. Good at protecting the rim. He got to improve on his jumper. He got great athleticism. I think the Lakers need to add a center. I don't have. I'm sorry, I'm pulling this stuff up. I don't want to disrespect them youngest like that. No disrespect. I was trying to see how I was watching. Showing these. Oh yeah, that's how it was. The draft overview. All right, the Lakers, their roster. Like I said, the free agency. Now we're gonna get LeBron's probably definitely signing back with the Lakers. The people I think they need to keep on the free agency, Jackson Hayes. I'm actually a fan of his still because he does a great job defensively. I don't know if he wants to be known for just defense and he's trying to, but if he focuses on just being that force in the paint, I think he could be a starter, play 25 minutes. The league, you got to do a lot of changing. He does a good job changing. He just have to buy into being that anchor. And, we definitely still need the center that we have on on our under contract is Trey Jemison. I don't want to say it wrong. The third. I don't know. He did get a lot of playing time. I think that's what our biggest thing. Luka's coming back. We got to see the second year of Bernie. He's going to play in the summer league this year as well. We're going to see how much he's improved this summer. I was not that high on Dalton Connect coming out into the. I didn't diss him because he played a lot of college. He did a good job in college playing the SEC, but he got hurt last year. You got to stay healthy. And they tried to trade him for Mark Williams, who still ended up getting traded. But Mark Williams felt that physical, so he didn't get moved. I don't know how much trust he has in the Lakers. They look at him as a piece to be moved. I don't think he played bad. He had some good games last year, but I'm not strong. I don't see how with us having Luka, I think he's expensible to be traded. Now, the things that I've been looking at is teams that I was looking at teams that have young players, and I don't know if I watched the Portland Trailblazers. They have a center over there, and I ain't trying to be. One thing I pride myself on is finding I know how good Chauncey Billups is at finding and developing players. So the player I was looking at, I don't want to butcher his name, is Donovan Clingan, and I was looking at their depth on center. And I was looking at their depth on forwards. And, when they got Jeremy Grant, I don't know Chris Murray, Tamani Camera, Denny Advita. These are unknown names. They just got traded. Anthony Simons. I like Shaden Sharp. So Dalton Connect will be a good trading piece to go to over. And, I'll give up another player from them. We could give up Shake Milton, good 3-point shooter, just to get a rim protector like Donovan Clingan. He's a young player from last year they drafted, and we can give up another draft pick. I don't really care for a draft pick. We still have LeBron. We still got Luka. We still got development of Bronny James. I don't know. I want to see us get a big man that can really protect. We have a lot of liability on the perimeter, but we need a rim protector as well. With us having this, and they also got DeAndre Ayton. I don't even mind us if we get DeAndre Ayton if they want to keep. I don't know who they feel deem is. I think Donovan Clingan. When I watched this film, he looks like he can guard the big man that's coming around in the paint. He has that strength and length to play. Those type of players. That he does a good job. He's well coached on defensively, and we did just give him Anthony Davis. I think, and that's the team I look at. They got a lot of players that, they might want to look into just talking to them about one of them centers over there at Portland. That'll be the trade destination. We can't go get Jared Allen or Mobley from Cleveland. Denver, they're not, they don't have the pieces now. Detroit, let's look at their lineup. They got one center, Jalen Duran. I don't know if they'll trade. They don't need any forwards. The best place I could see, just the type of player they have. Let's look at the Knicks, who they have over there. Karl Anthony Towns, Mitchell Robinson. They don't got no centers that's gonna be a piece. They got a lot of free agents over there. They got Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson on the contract, and nobody. They got a nice little Miles McBride. They got a nice core. They got some people leaving, expiring contracts. So the Knicks should be good. They don't got a piece that I want. So let's look at Washington. They just drafted some young players. They had a lot of young players last year. They don't even have a center on their roster. So, like I said, the people who got a center, that the type of center that the Lakers need. Memphis, they might want to give up. They drafted Cedric Coward. They acquired Cedric Coward from Portland. They just added Kentavious Caldwell-Pope with the trade they did. They got Jay Hub, Zach Edney, Jaren Jackson. I think Jaren Jackson's due for a contract, but he's still more on the forward. But he does play great defense on the switching on perimeter. Being able to block shots. He just got to be committed. I don't think they, if they looking for a real, but he's looking to get paid 40 plus million. I don't know if we can afford that. I'm saying I mean the Lakers. He'll be a good trade with Dog Connect, probably a first round pick, another player. Like I don't know. Let's look at the layers who they could trade for him. I'll give up. They probably gonna want Austin Reeves, which I don't think LeBron want to give him up. I'll give up. I'll definitely give up for Jaren Jackson. I'll give up Rui. Sorry, correction. Rui, Dalt Connect. That's two people. Or Jared Vanderbilt. I don't know if they'll want all three of those guys, but that's a 3 for one center forward, and then a draft pick. That's just me looking at it. We definitely need a center that's, and I'll keep Jackson Hayes on the roster, and then re-sign Dorian Finley. I don't know how good Alex Lynn and Christian Koloko, all those guys have been. Christian's been on the Lakers last few years. Alex Lynn has been around for a minute in the league. He hasn't panned out to what they thought he was going to be. So, I'm looking at like Markieff Morris, a veteran. He'll accept the veteran minimum. He'll definitely get a job. You want the championship. You winning pedigree. But I don't know if he's coming back to the Lakers. He was in the trade. He's been bouncing around too. So, yeah, that's it for the Lakers. Let's go to another team. Let's see who I want to talk about today. The Rockets. Let's talk about the Rockets shit. LeBron and KD need they flowers while they still playing. So, for their roster, they just got KD. They Jalen. I did speak on this already, kind of. I like Amon Thompson though. That guy balled out last year in the playoffs. He finished strong. He had a nice year. Alpern Saigon. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. I like him as a center. Center forward, really, he can shoot the three. He plays well on defense with his feet. Fred VanVleet is a free agent. I don't know if he's staying or he's resigned. I think he said he's resigned. He got a contract for him. Steven Adams is a good piece. If the Lakers want to look, I forgot he was a free agent. So we can find some veteran leadership at the rim protector, give you 15, 20 minutes from him, 15, 25 minutes, depending on who they play. And, they got Aaron Holiday as a free agent as well. Easton is pretty nice. Jabari Smith got to pan out. You got to see a little bit more from him. They got a nice team over there for the Houston. I definitely seen Amon Thompson, switching on defense. Dylan Brooks just got traded. So all that stuff, going to see how everything pan out with him. With Amon Thompson, KD. They're going to need a true point guard. I think they're going to re-sign Fred VanVleet. So they're going to have a nice team. It's got to wait and see how it's going to pan out for them. I think he's going to like it way more being in the South, being on the East Coast. All that stuff matters. Definitely going to like it in the South over here. He's going to be in Texas, so he's going to be right with his own stumping grounds and where his people at. For Kevin Durant, I think he should finish his career definitely there. Try not to leave no more, go nowhere else. Let's look into the 76ers, see what they got going on over here. I like what they drafted this year, so we're gonna see how they look. 76ers. They got Joel Embiid still. I'm not a big fan of Paul George. I think when he got hurt, it kind of set him back. They got a lot of expiring contracts from last year going. I don't think they need to re-sign any of those players. I think Quentin Grimes is a player that, I'm saying it like that. Kyle Lowry played okay. Quentin Grimes played okay. Everybody else, Kelly Oubre, that's a person that I see the Lakers need to check him out. I like players like that could guard, that can defend on the wing. So Lakers check into Kelly Oubre. I'm a big fan of him, just his tenacity and his energy on defense. He might re-sign with, he's been bouncing around the league, but we need players like that. I didn't know he was a free agent. Now, back to the Sixers. Joel Embiid, still there. Big fan of him. I think he's the best center in the league. You know, him and Jokic go back and forth every year depending on their health. Paul George is dispendable. I don't think nobody wants his contract. I don't know how many years he got left, but he cost a lot of money. Jared McCain, Tyrese Maxey. Jared McCain was the rookie from last year. He played very well. They don't have they have to restructure the contract. They right now they have reshaped they got, they drafted VJ Edgecombe. He was the third pick overall. And they had Johnny Broome for Auburn. Both of those players was, cited of already being in the facility, and they very high on, VJ. And both of those guys they're going to make the roster. They're probably going to be contribute. They're looking for VJ to help Tyrese Maxey could play point, more of the point guard, and then him got to come in and be that scorer, help Kane, that. And then they still got Embiid. They still got Paul George who can contribute. That would be actually a nice starting lineup. Jalen Hood, he's still on the roster as a guard. Ricky Council, I don't know how much he's going to contribute. Some of these players still developing. But Philly never. The people that are under contract are talented. None of them are not untalented. All these people are talented. So they don't have and then the two people that they drafted, third pick is a high lottery pick, potential to be a superstar caliber type player. Oh, so I don't think they definitely made sure they picked somebody with high upside. Baylor has been producing at a high clip of the caliber of players that they've been producing the last 5 to 8 years is on the high end side of superstar potential. So hopefully they hit on him, help Joel Embiid, keep him happy. They got him some front court help with Johnny Broome being drafted, and I think he can stretch and shoot the three as well. All that stuff matters. So it's a similar style, and then it's good that he got some help. He go in 29, 28 to 32 minutes a game, and he'll give you 35 points. And, that's how Embiid operates now. His plus minus is very high on the plus side when he's in the game, when he's healthy. So, shout out to Embiid. I definitely see him having a bounce back year. I'm a big fan of his. Like I said, I pick him over every big man in this league now. He's stretching. He's proud. His footwork and post game is very high level. So it's very rare that you see somebody that big move that with that grace. So I'm not gonna say too much. I'll mention the teams. I talk about 3 teams. I ain't saying any of my favorites. I just like I speak on the veterans, and then you still got OKC. I could have spoke on them. They just won the championship, so shout out to them. I'll talk about them first Monday when I still do the review. I'm already holding y'all a little long today. Hour and 20 minutes in. I'm gonna let y'all go. I talked about the NBA, NFL. Sorry I ain't giving y'all no P time right now. My apologies. Stuff just happened. We're gonna talk about football. I think everything gets situated in the league. People getting signed, the contract, the preseason. We got to break down a lot. People will be on the roster will get cut and will not be on the roster after preseason, and this is shortened. They shortened the preseason season up. The Hall of Fame game is literally a month away, basically after July. Hall of Fame game in August. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. Now we could get down to it's really speaking on that stuff. Like I said, I try not to, I talk about how the NFL was a form of slavery when it first was started, basically with these people having control of high-powered beings and basically high-powered soldiers, basically. And that's what the beginning of it was. It was all, I don't want to talk too much, same with baseball, how they stopped the Negro League. And that's why I don't try to give them too much press, but I do respect the athletes and the way they have taken advantage of helping their families financially, changing a lot of rules that, the ruling of it beginning, still a lot of back end hate going on still in the NFL that we got to get cleaned up. But it is what it is. It's been a lot of changes in ownership as well. But it's still like they live that stench of racism and prejudice on how it was formed. So, shout out to her how, it can take a few years back and how they handled, Deshaun Watson. Then before that, Colin Kaepernick, it still wears its ugly head every now and again. So, they got to pay for those. They had to pay for those situations. So, I don't care what they say. Deshaun Watson, when they got the 240, if it was a lot of defamation of his character, I don't care what nobody say. They had to pay that man, and he's got to stay in the league as well. So we ain't gonna worry about it. We're gonna move on. It's unfortunately the position that they really want to control is the quarterback position, and it didn't happen how it was. You got Lamar being at the top, then you still got Deshaun, still could be in the wing. Jameis still on the roster. These are people that have voices. Lamar has spoken out a lot. He's doing a good job of speaking about the community, which I appreciate him because he's definitely more of a doer. As you see what he does already on the league, being under 30 still, and being one of the youngest still because his birthday's in the summer, so he still be like the whole year he's his age. You know what I'm saying? So they can't get nothing funny. I appreciate that type of the people speaking out. And you still got a lot of black quarterbacks, that came before them that Cam was before them guys. He got a lot of back end. Remember he got drafted, they like keep your hair cut, no tattoos. And he ended up growing the dreads and he probably got a tattoo here and there and definitely talk how you want to talk. He got his own podcast. So I can't diss him at all. You can see how they did him in college. He had to go through a lot just to get to that point before that, just to stop him, his progression. It ain't no way nobody, what it really was, when they got in that camp and Cam Newton versus Tim Tebow, who was the better quarterback. Even though Tim Tebow got all the accolades because they got to build these people up just so they even stay in the green, stay in any kind of conversation of, how the media is. It's all black. It's too much sauce going on right now. We got our own voices. We got, when I say the black congregation, the black and native African descendant has a strong voice in the world. And this is what it is. And America didn't want that to be that when this country was formulated. So that's it for today. Remember, stay grounded with your family. Hopefully you got a good group of friends that didn't turn on you, that didn't hate on you. So keep that mindset. And then that's it. This is Dynasty the Podcast Show. I'm your host, Ira Bush. I'll see y'all Monday. Thank y'all for listening. Make sure y'all share. I'm gonna start getting some subscriptions. I'm gonna just start asking people to subscribe me. I got a nice little congregation out here that be every time I leave, I can ask people to follow my YouTube channel. They got YouTube, so I can start right there. Go to the park and ask them as well. So I'm gonna just start there. When I start coaching, tell my jits to go check my channel. I'll be saying profane words, but the kids can't watch my show. This is not no horrible show. I wouldn't even put my nephew on here if I wouldn't talk about no real stuff that I already spoke to him about at home, in house, and laying down the foundation for real speaking, real morals, real having a real standard. So that's pretty much it. Thank y'all, and I appreciate y'all. Talk to y'all later.